So one thing that I get asked quite a lot on in the WhatsApp community by you guys is how to deal with anxiety. And especially now that exams are coming, how to deal with exam anxiety. So yeah, I know how crippling anxiety can be. The stress and the worry, which are essentially caused by a lot of things. And I mean, it can be paralyzing, like literally, it can paralyze you to the point where you can't even study, you can't even focus. So I know the feeling. I've been through it myself, where there's just so much uncertainty. I don't know if I'm gonna pass, I don't know if I'm gonna fail, I don't know how I'm gonna pass. Things have not been going well, just so much things that end up compounding to the point where you become so anxious and you can barely even act. But how do you deal with this? How do you tackle this? And how do you end up giving your best input for exams? So I think the first thing which I want to touch on today is when you're within exams, dealing with that anxiety. Maybe let's say you wrote a bad paper today, you wrote an exam today, it was a bad paper. You feel like maybe you failed, you didn't pass, you didn't get the mark you needed. You're not feeling too good about yourself. But you still have 5-6 more exams that are coming in the next 2 weeks. So I think it's important to try and have this mentality or mindset where you compartmentalize everything, especially within exams. So you need to box every single exam essentially and view it in isolation. So whatever happens in this exam today does not determine how I will do in my other exams. That's something very important to understand, because I think sometimes we get overwhelmed by what's going on now. Maybe you wrote a bad exam and your semester test didn't go too well or whatever. Then you're like, how am I even going to pass the next ones? That should not be your focus. That shouldn't be on your mind. That shouldn't be something you think about. What you should be focusing on is, what do I need to do for my next exams? What do I need to study? What do I need to revise? What do I need to go through? That's what should be on your mind. Because once you start thinking about a lot of things, you start thinking about the past, you're just going to get into a constant spiral of you're not good enough, this, that, the other. So you need to leave the past in the past. The past is the past for a reason. It's done now. You can't change that. You can't do anything. Leave that in the past. But now focus on here. Focus on what you can do here. And that, I think, is the most important thing when going through exams. Because once you start thinking about a lot of things, you lose focus, you lose attention, and you're not going to be able to give your best for the upcoming exams. I think as well, what is super important is for you to develop your own coping mechanisms to deal with your anxiety, especially during exams. And I especially mean healthy coping mechanisms. You need to be able to have a sort of system in place where you know that if I get stressed, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that, then I should be fine, or at least better off. So just to give an example, a coping mechanism that I used during my exam periods or my exam time was always, if I get too overwhelmed, too stressed, I leave the books and I go take a shower. And I basically reflect back on the semester and reflect back to the positives, the good things that I've done, the progress that I've made, and the good things that I have going for me. And it would be a bit of a long shower because, I'd just be in my own mind reflecting on that stuff. And then when I come out of the shower, I'd watch a movie. I'd do anything but study. But preferably just be alone. I'd watch a movie, just something to, just de-stress my mind. I'd switch off my phone, just finish that movie, focus on that movie literally. And then after that, I'd then spend maybe 1 or 2 hours just speaking to friends. Not about academics, anything but academics, even going to visit some friends. So this was my process. I always knew that if I get too anxious, if I'm too up there, if I'm not seeing clearly, this was my system. I'd take a shower, watch a movie, go meet up with some friends. Then I knew that when I came back to study, I'd be in a much better place. I'd be less anxious, and I'd actually be able to, actually focus on what's important, which is getting the desired result in the exam. So I encourage you guys, please get a system that works for you. I can't give you a system. You can try what I do, but it might not work for you as well as it does for me. You have to tailor make your own system because you understand yourself best and you understand what relaxes you and what doesn't relax you. Maybe being with people when you're super stressed doesn't relax you. Maybe watching a movie when you're super stressed doesn't relax you. You have to sort of have that understanding of yourself and know that I need to do X, Y, Z in order to get better, in a better frame of mind. Next thing I can encourage all of you guys to do is please, when you feel too anxious, be cognizant of the environment you're in. Because usually what we tend to do as students is we study in one environment. And I'll be honest, studying and living in one place is not very conducive. It's not the best. Because at the end of the day, you do need a sort of study zone and a living zone. So if you're living and studying in the same place, it might not be the best combination. So if you find yourself overly anxious, ask yourself, are you studying in your room? Are you studying in the same place where you make food, where you live, where you sleep? Because if that's the case, what usually happens when you're studying in your room or in the same environment you live is that even when you're not studying, you're thinking of studying because that's the environment you're in. You're in the environment where you're working, where you're studying, and the stress of the studies end up following you wherever you are in that room because you're in the same room, especially if maybe you're in a place that doesn't have separate components. Like let's say it's a flat that doesn't have separate bedrooms. It's just a bed, a desk, and a kitchen, all basically in one area. If that's the type of setup you have, you need to consider studying somewhere else. Perhaps study in the library or remove yourself from that environment when you're studying, then come back to it when you're not studying. Or at least do most of your studying elsewhere. You can't study in your room because I understand that there may be a need to. I did still, but I've tried to spend as much time studying elsewhere than in my room because I found that I was most anxious in my room when I was consistently studying in my room. So I think just be aware of your environment, and if you feel like your environment is making you anxious, then try separate your studying from your living. And next up, speaking about environments, a massive tip I can give is when you're feeling anxious, when your mind is a bit fuzzy, when things are, remove yourself from all your studying environments and just go to a place of peace. For me, this tended to be going to the sports campus we have at the University of Pretoria, also known as LC. I just used to go there. I used to sit and just relax, because this was literally out of my studying environment. It was out of the main campus at UP, and it wasn't in my room. So this was a place where I could just de-stress, I could relax, I could get my mind temporarily off things. And then when I get back to it, I know that at least I've gotten some clarity in removing myself from the environments of stress. So this is something else I can just recommend for you guys to deal with your anxiety. And lastly, in terms of dealing with anxiety, one of the biggest things, most important things, is you need to understand yourself. You need to understand yourself. And I know this may sound stupid or weird or whatever, but honestly speaking, even though we are ourselves, the vast majority of us don't truly understand ourselves. And it takes a conscious effort to go out and understand yourself. Understand your triggers, the things that make you more anxious. Understand the things that calm you. Understand the processes that you need to take to get to a better place. Understand how you need to focus. Building that understanding in yourself enables you to be self-aware of how you feel. Because the better you understand yourself, the better you're able to control your emotions and how you feel. Because at the end of the day, if you don't take time to self-introspect or to basically look inside you and get a deeper understanding of yourself, If you don't do that, you're basically going to be controlled by your emotions, by how you feel, and anxiety will take hold of you. And if it has a pattern of taking hold of you during stressful periods, that's what's going to happen in the future as well. So you need to get a grip of things. And the first step here is to understand yourself, to just build that self-understanding. Know that this is me, this is what triggers me, this is how I operate, this is my mind, this is how my mind works, this is what's good for me, and this is what's bad for me. Very simple. And I know it's weird. I've left the sort of first step for last, but I just thought, let me emphasize this step. Let me purposefully put it at the end, because I really want you guys, if you guys are going to leave with anything, leave with this message, that you need to have a deep understanding for yourself in order to be as efficient as possible. So as always, guys, I hope this has helped. Let me know in the comments which tip that I gave today was the most impactful. And yeah, guys, please do subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying my content. Like this video if it gave you some value. And until the next one, let's continue on our journey in creating a better world.